Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a look at 1319 patch notes, which is also the patch notes that we are going to be playing or seeing at the World Championship. This looks rather light in my mind. This looks very, very light. I am surprised by the lack of some champs and a little bit disappointed too, especially when it comes to the jungle department. Surprised to not see any Rel. I'm surprised to not see any Maokai. I'm surprised to see any Ivan. These are champions that are going to be played yet. I am surprised to not see any Belveth as well. Sejuani has been nerfed enough, like someone in chat mentioned Sejuani, but I feel like Sejuani has been nerfed enough. So I'm okay with that. Kai'Sa untouched with the new builds coming into the picture. I feel like Kai'Sa is very strong, also a very strong state, and Azir Nerfs are going to improve that. I wonder if there's no system changes or nerfs to Navori as an item, which I think is super, super strong too. So it means like AD carry pool will be relatively similar. But I think at the same time, you know, AD carry pool isn't in a horrible spot. So I think that's okay. Someone in the chat said, static is nerfed, so Kai'Sa is worse. I think that you are out of the loop, mate. We're buying lethality now on Kai'Sa. In most cases. Definitely there's AP variants of Kai'Sa that buy it, you know, the static into AP items. There's definitely that. But the majority of games is definitely a role of lethality Kai'Sa. Alistar as well. I think Alistar, Bard is super, super strong. Rakan as well. It's like Alistar, Rakan, these champions are completely on crack. But I can talk about all of the things that I think should be changed. Let's take a look at the patch notes. Someone says, I refuse to believe the Zasplit Kai'Sa is good. Well, the purpose of it is that you curve out so well. You curve out so well on a champion that scales very, very good. An underrated portion of the conversation when it comes to itemization is the path to the itemization. So basically, when it comes to, like in my mind, right, when I saw the build, I was like, why on earth don't people just go Dirk into Manamune and then finish Duskblade into Nashor's? And I'd be like, okay, that sounds better to me because it's like, oh, you go Manamune, you get the upgrade, you have AD, you have mana, cool. The lethality build of Kai'Sa, I think it's a little bit over amplified how good it is in solo queue, because in solo queue you are heavily incentivized to walk out of base with the most amount of items possible. Not the most amount of items, but the most amount of power rather. You want to walk out with the most amount of power without sacrificing yourself in the future too much. It's like you're very incentivized to go Dirk into longswords, into longswords, into longswords. And the precision of your fight selection is not good when it comes to solo queue, right? It's like solo queue fight selection is imprecise, while competitive fight selection at a higher level is quite precise. So you can space yourself out and choose to actively not fight when you're weaker and play a defensive game and still equalize on farm and maybe give up an objective, right? As an example. So that's where the conversation for me comes in for the Kai'Sa. If it is strictly a solo queue thing and it performs better in solo queue, but people that complain about the mana issues, basically the point of the build is to spam Q rather than spamming W. This build is not about spamming W. This build is about spamming Q. That's what the build is about. And having a lot of damage on Q because of the lethality and the longswords that you have. And getting early, very early upgrade, right? But nevertheless, let's not get stuck. Let's take a look at the nerfs. Azir. Cooldown down. Up 2 seconds. That's a pretty hefty smack on the head. For those who don't know, Azir maxes W now. This is a pretty big nerf. I think it's kind of an overreach. I think in the context of everything else that is happening around mid lane, I don't think this is necessary. Orianna, Talia are so strong champions. LB, depending on the changes of LB, also super good into Azir. Tristana mid lane also super good. I think like a lot of the champions that are good into Azir and played into Azir are champions that have been buffed. So I don't think this is necessary. I think this is a overkill. Overkill. Briar. I think this is not too super interesting to me, considering this champion will not be enabled at the World Championship. Is Orianna counter to Azir? No, it's not. It can lane into Azir, and her weakness is that she can get swooped, right? She can be dragged by Azir. But for the longest time, Azir Orianna was a very, very common matchup globally when it comes to PvP, like, esports. But Orianna was winning games against Azir while falling behind, right? Just as a note. Usually, like, the counters to Azir are champions with dashes. Corki is perfect into Azir because he has poke, long range, and additionally has a W to get away from any potential gank that Azir wants to set up, which is crucial. I'm not too intrigued by Briar because in my mind I'm kind of out of the loop of the strength of this champ. I can't really judge these changes too much, so I'm gonna just move on because it's not going to be relevant to the World Championship. Galio, our cooldown decreased. 20 seconds down. I think this is not interesting enough for me to get excited about Galio. I think a lot of the mid laners that are being played are very good into Galio, and Galio has been nerfed in that department quite heavily. So sadly, I don't think Galio is going to see play unless Camille sees play. And some patches ago, we did see some Camille buffs, right? We got the old Hextech Ultimatum buff, and it was a pretty decent buff. So maybe we will see some Camille Galio combos because Jax has gotten nerfs and Camille has been, buffed. Maybe that could be an angle, but I don't think this is enough for me to get excited about Galio. Gangplank. Our cooldown decreased, Death Delta upgrade slow increase, raise morale upgrade movement decreased. I don't think this addresses the weakness of GP. I think that the 10-second cooldown down and improving upgrades. By the time you have upgrades, you're already a very happy Gangplank, So now you're an even happier Gangplank, but there's a limit to how much you can smile. Yo, Carol Serpent, thank you very much for the tier 1, appreciate you. There's a limit to how much you can smile. So I don't think this buff necessarily helps his weakness. It just elevates his strength. So I don't think this will move GP too much in terms of what he is in the meta, because in competitive play it's so important to be durable. Like, think about the top laners that are being played. Renekton, Aatrox, K'Sante even. These are champions where Gangplank is a liability. And Gangplank has very similar problems as Jace, where GP and Jace's early game has been quite nerfed, where they can't leverage that enough into a situation where they actually find security in their strength. But this was a very toxic gameplay loop in top, right? Where GP was dominating lane early, Jace was dominating lane early, no one liked playing against that, so they toned it down big time and made them more rewarding in terms of their scaling. Curtain Call, 50, 64. The Storm Razor buff I think was pretty neat for Jin. I think that minimum physical damage on ult is quite neat. I think that's neat. Kind of sad to hit your bullets on someone that's full HP and it's gonna feel a little bit more impactful, but you know, in the grand total of things, it's not super insane. The only question I have is if the minimum physical damage affects the maximum physical damage in any shape or form. Let me just read the Jin wiki real fast to make sure that we have all of it covered. Here's Jin. Sipping on gin and juice. Minimum physical damage. Right. Okay, so there's a maximum as well, and the minimum doesn't affect that. Okay. Cool. Cool. Leblanc. Alright. Attack speed ratio down. Ooh. This is a pretty big one. This is a pretty big one, guys. So I'm assuming the purpose of this change is to equalize non-attack speed builds of LB to make her not feel worse. But the attack speed ratio is a huge nerf. So your attack speed ratio is basically, you know, how well you scale with attack speed. So this is a big hit in the sack. Attack damage growth down, which means the sheen effects become worse, right? And then mana growth down to 25 and mana regen down 2. So AP scaling up 5%, 5%. This is initial cast, so it doesn't double dip on the AP scaling. I feel like the mana issues is something that you can solve through runes. Like, I think this portion I don't care too much about because you can solve it through runes. You can play Presence of Mind and you can also just play Mana Flow Band. A lot of games I play Revitalize and Demolish and I don't have mana issues. The mana growth down by 30 though is a pretty hefty hit, but I think that you just play Mana Flow Band Scorch. But I think this change here is the biggest one. This change here is the biggest one. But I wouldn't be surprised if this LB build still sees some play. But I think this should be enough to push it away from 100% big ban. Listen. The relationship Riot Games has with Lissandra. It's pretty damn funny, though. How many times have we had 2 AD up, 2 armor off? Okay. 2 armor. Decent for healthiness of clear, and in a lot of cases you fight and AD damage is being dealt. Decent buff. Lifesteal and spell vamp. 5 to 10. Bro, you're gonna be healthy as fuck in your clear. 35. Oh, it's nerfed. E is nerfed. Yeah, like this is alright. This is alright. This doesn't move my imagination to solo lane Lissandra, if that's something that you're considering as you're listening to this. But I think this is alright. It says increased on the top. Where? Where does it say increased? They decreased. Oh, yeah, you mean? Oh. Yeah, let's not waste our time with these type of tooltips. It's all good. Lissandra. Man, they really want Lissandra to be played. They really want Lissandra to be played. Last time they buffed her ult. they buffed her passive. The passive buff was pretty damn big. This definitely helps W Max Lissandra. This is nice for support Lissandra, for those who like it, you know. I think that the buffs that Lissandra got the last time were pretty hefty, but I think Lissandra is something that is very meta dependent, you know. And in a world where Lissandra's AD and there's not a lot of assassins being played mid, I could still see like Lissandra being locked into, for example, Ahri, if Ahri is blind picked. But against Ahri, there's a lot of picks. It's like Lissandra has some spots where she can get locked in. I don't necessarily, just because it's like, in my mind, just because something is not picked often doesn't mean that it needs to be buffed, you know? I think there's cases where Lissandra can be picked, and that's great. I don't think there needs to be more to it than that. But I also understand how Riot revolve around, like, think about the balance of everything is that ideally they want to create a situation where most champions are strong and viable in their own way. Because the way a lot of people consume this game is that they have a couple of champions that they really like and they like to play them. And if those champs are too weak to be played and you can feel it in the game, then you are less likely to play the game, right? So to boost the play rate of a champ, I can definitely see the purpose of it, you know. But this is good for Lissandra Super, I think, and it's not something that is going to move her in the matchups where she isn't picked. Nunu and Willamp. Kesha reads this and all right, 15% AP scaling, maximum total AP damage. All right, that's pretty big. All right, good for Nunu, but I think Nunu is a trash champion. I'm not gonna lie. So there's that. It's like Nunu really needs to snowball. I hate that I said that. He falls off very hard, needs a lot of gold, and then even when he has gold, he's very gimmicky. Pike, health growth, 6 up, and W cooldown down. I think you max E second now, as far as I remember. So this is uninteresting. This is such a non-existent buff, I think. This is nothing. Like in later levels, sure, like cool. Alright, let's see Rek'Sai. Why did Rek'Sai get nerfed and not Bel'Veth? Okay. So they just... Damn. They really gutted the heal. Oof. That is a really big gut of the heal. This like murders a lot of top lane Rek'Sai tech. This murders fucking Rek'Sai in top lane. Alright. Q percentage scaling down, but it wait. Okay. This is not a big deal. Bonus move speed. Ooh. Oh, damn. That is big. That is so big. Holy moly. Headshot dead. That is crazy. They just removed 10 move speed from Rek'Sai. Like, this is a champion that really relies on connecting. This is a big fucking nerf, bro. That is... Don't play Rek'Sai, guys. It's time to play Bel'Veth. Move on to the sexier Void champ. Base magic resistance decreased. 4 MR down. Rumble, Cannon, Orn. Neat. Neat. Still, Renekton will be picked. But the answers into Renekton will actually... he will feel them a little bit more. Because keep in mind, it's like... you have to put this through the lens of what the context of everything that's going on already, right? It's like... so Rumble is being played. Cannon already got a buff. Orn. These are champions that people got away with playing against Renekton and won with against Renekton. So these type of changes is neat, you know? This is a pretty smart nerf, I think. Smart nerf. You mentioned Gwen, but Gwen is not picked into Renekton often, you know? Very rare that we see Gwen into Renekton. Very rare. And I think also this nerf isn't that great for Gwen, just because of her, like, she has true damage in her kit too, you know? Alright, Syndra, Q damage up. Alright, a little 5, a little Tootski. A little Tootski, okay. You know, considering sometimes we see Syndra into Azir, we see Syndra into Tristana, we'll see Syndra into Orianna too at the World Championship. That's cool. That's cool, you know? I can appreciate that. I think this is a fine buff, but minor, right? This is going to be 10 additional damage in a potential all-in that you do. I wonder how this is going to affect the breakpoints of you pushing minions, but that's such a non-issue for Syndra, so it should never matter. Yeah? Alright. Spray and Pray, missile speed. I'm going to just read why. We identify Twitch as a champion that isn't necessarily weak, but could use some quality of life improvements. We think Spray and Pray is the coolest part of Twitch's arsenal. Wanted to play up the difference between R being up and R being down. The change here is a small increase of reliability of his ultimate to be less likely that someone simply walking side will dodge the bolts. Alright, I don't mind that change. I think some cases are very stupid for Twitch. I think the way his auto attack works, it is one of the wonkiest shit in the game. So, cheers. Ooh. Ooh. That's a stinger, dude. Considering Static Shiv is also getting nerfed, bro. That is a stinger, bro. That's a nerf. 5 move speed is a big deal, guys. Let's see what the Static Shiv nerf is going to also bring to the table. Some items are highly specific in their niche, and that's perfectly fine. However, it's important that these items are strong in their appropriate game states. Random Zombie should be go-to anti-crit item, but its price and overall efficiency should make it bad. This is just a nerf to Yone. This is just a nerf to Yone and Yasuo. Because in most games, there's a single crit champion. When there's 2, is where you want to buy Randu and Zoman. So Tristana is hurt by this, Yone is hurt by this, Tryndamere is hurt by this. Every crit champion that is outside of bot is hurt by this. Unless you have cases, of course, where you play Ziggs bot, right? Kindred is a little bit niche, right? Because she can go Trinity Force, Black Cleaver with Sand. You know, there's itemization options for Kindred that pivots away from crit. GP is also something that is a little bit hurt by this, right? Kog'Maw could buy it, yeah. Top laners could buy it. It's like you could see like a Renekton buy it third, you know. Junglers could maybe buy it as a second item, you know. Because the path to Randu and Zoman is quite smooth. It's a Giant's Belt, it's a Warden's Mail, and then Recipe, right? So, I think this buff hurts champions in other roles that buy crit, because when there's overlap of crit, this is where Rando and Zomen comes in, and that's good for Rando and Zomen, right? And Zika's Arm God buff is also something that is going to hurt, you know, the Yonis of the world and the Yasus of the world. But more importantly, I think this is something that can affect top lane. We've already had changes, for example, Renekton. We already mentioned like the champs like Rumble and Cannon. They can definitely squeeze in a Zika's Arm Guard. The difference between 15 and 20 armor flat is kind of a big deal when it comes to those, you know, nuanced, like those deeper efficiencies when it comes to, you know, at that gold scale. Is it worth to delay 1000G mythic for arm guards versus AD as a mage? So you're borrowing power from the future, right? It's like the same logic you can apply to buying Zika's Arm God is the same logic you can apply to you buying an elixir, right? Because you're choosing to sacrifice your future power for temporary power or early power. You're basically operating on borrowed power, and you will spike later. But if you can leverage that borrowed power into something more significant, let's say you win lane or you win a fight off of it, that can be more significant than you reaching your mythic earlier, right? But it isn't a giga buff, like, oh, ADs can't be played anymore. Like, I think this is more relevant top than mid in my opinion. Because mid, I think, especially with the champions that have mana in their kit, they really want Lost Chapter. While you're playing Rumble, you can get away with cocktailing a little bit, you know? It's like you're playing top, you want to come into lane with, you know, you need to swing your balls around as heavy as possible. I don't think this is something that you're gonna rush against Tristana, no. So I don't think it's gonna be relevant. Static Shiv. So another hit to Zeri, right? Electroshock damage to minions, 200 to 150. This is... And the key thing is, like, I think also for LB, right? It's like you're not gonna... I think you're not gonna clear the range minions, you know, with 2 zaps. Guaranteed always. So that's gonna be rough. This is the most confused item ever created. Static Shiv. We have Static Shiv in every patch note. I don't remember the last time we had a patch note without Static Shiv. Okay, item adjustments, behavioral systems, ping adjustments, accessibility update, bug fixes. Fix the bug that caused Ivan's trigger seed to not apply the second shield if he had Moonstone. That's a big change. Living Forge should not increase his bonus stats by 4% when upgrade. Whoa, big change. Whoa, big change. Hehe, big change. Fix the bug that caused Carter's passive form to deal damage to allied teammates when he was slain by Briar in Berserk state. That's pretty funny. That's just Briar nerfs. Alright, first strike to not grant gold for abilities that kill the target. Whoa, this is such a big buff. Oh my lord. Wow. Oh my lord. Fix the bug where first strike will not grant gold for damage that right before the effect ended. Oh my lord. These are so big. That is crazy. Wow. Okay. Fix the bug that caused Oriana's R command Shockwave to be castable beyond its intended range. Fix a bug with Unseal Spell where you could get stuck with Unleashed Teleport if it upgraded while you swapped to it. Yes. Oh, this happened in the pro game. You guys remember? This happened in the LEC. This happened in the LEC, I believe. It was the LCS. Oh, it was LCS. You're right. Who he Brom. Upcoming skins. La Illusion. Holy. Bro, these illustrations are going hard, bro. Look at this, man. Damn. But Nidalee has some of the most beautiful skins in the game, I think. Like, she has some crazy skins. So it's like she's not lacking in that department at all. Why is it called La Illusion? Why is it French? Oh, this hair is so beautiful. Look at the beautiful hair. I really like this hair. It's not French? Oh, pardon me. Damn, holy shit, this Zig skill looks kind of sick. Holy shit. Okay. Wow, bro, look at the illustration. Wow. It's like Dia de los Muertos Ziggs. Oh, okay. Day of the Dead. Damn, this kid looks crazy. He has a guitar, bro. He has a fucking guitar and a fucking hedgehog on his head. Okay. But these thighs, though. Crazy, bro. Where's the hedgehog? I don't see the hedgehog in this picture. Oh shit. Oh shit, bro. They're releasing the skins here too, guys. I long for a worthy opponent. Damn, okay. Did you get a little chroma, I guess? Fuck, I think. I'm sorry, rookie, but the OG one looks better. I'm sorry, blood. Is this Uzi? Is this Uzi? Who's this? No, the Vayne has to be Uzi. Who's Lucian? Nah, blood. This is the biggest disappointment of... Kaiser is Uzi? No, Kaiser is Jackie Love. It's literally his skin, bro. This is the ugliest fucking world skin ever, bro. The FPX package, bro. That is... This has to be Carson, no? Or is it Clear Love? Did Uzi win Worlds? No, but this has nothing to do with winning Worlds. This is like the 10... Oh, it's Xiaohu Lucian. You guys are right. This is Xiaohu. You're right. This is Xiaohu. You guys are right. Okay, just to round off the patch notes, it's like the champions that I think that was missed. Like, I'm worried. It's like we're gonna have the same jungle meta. Mid meta is gonna be like Orianna, Talia, Tristana, Jace, Azir. We're going to... I feel like we're going to see largely the same champs. I don't think this patch changes anything. Xerath too, yeah. I don't think this patch changes anything. Yeah, Azir got kind of fucked. I feel like Azir is on his way out after this for sure. But I don't think this nerf was necessary at all. Like, I think that yeah, I think the meta will stay largely the same. Renekton, Aatrox, Gnar, K'Sante, Gwen. Yeah, this Azir Nerf is really, really big. Yeah, I mentioned it before. Like, this Azir Nerf is big. Yeah, okay. I'm surprised. It's like, I guess it's an approach, right? It's an approach. Last year before Worlds, the changes weren't that big either. It's like last year before Worlds, the changes were quite minimal too. It's a new approach where they want the playoff regions to, you know, basically play a similar meta that they come into, you know? And honestly, I don't mind that. I think it's like AD, I think, is in a healthy spot. Jungle, I think there's room to play Bel'Veth. There's room to play APs. Honestly, it's like the meta isn't that stiff and undynamic, you know? There's definitely things to play. So maybe, just maybe, this is the best thing to do. To not overdo it. I'm happy that it isn't too crazy. I feel like historically the world's patch is like this. Historically, no. It depends on how far you go back. Last year, yes. The year before that, not so much. 2018 changed everything. Like 2018 and back, bro. Those every year was something crazy. Every year was something crazy. I promise you. First Worlds I ever watched was when Mortar was pick banned. That was 2015. Okay, let's queue up.